All
Yep.
right. Well, Patrick, welcome home. Little inverse from the last year or so. It's evening here in Europe. I'm in Finland still, and Patrick's back home in St. Louis for the first time in a year that he's done a podcast from his house, more or less. And he's still getting situated there, so it doesn't have the optimal setup. So we thought we'd go with the pure contrast, black on black, and then I'll just do white on white over here in Hanu's kitchen.
Sure. Sounds good. Yeah. Yeah. I have to do something about. I'm trying to find a bright lighting for the office, and I don't know. I don't know. So I saw these little like lights you can mount on the wall. They're kind of like they're pretty cool, and I just don't know how bright they are. I know a lot of streamers use that, but a lot of streamers, I feel like I have the streamer like aesthetic going down. Kind of the dark aesthetic. I don't want that aesthetic, but I don't know. We'll see. I'll play around with it.
Cool boy, I like the addition to your name here. Very apropos for someone who eats sushi more than he drinks water. Anyway, we took T-Bird. Thanks for sharing your reunion with us, PC, with your pups. She's been waiting for it. Absolutely was nice.
They won't leave me. They keep on like they're just hanging out. They won't leave my side.
As they shouldn't. They missed you. Yeah, so we took the last week off. Patrick was traveling back from Germany, making sure that everyone that he was responsible for was getting squared away back stateside. And I guess I was just traveling around Europe, playing disc golf at different courses, visiting Estonia, working on a bunch of stuff with Roger and then with Hanu for their competitions and also for future World Fitness Project stuff. But we got kind of a little three-parter today. We'll take a look at Turku Tuomiopa iva that happened this past weekend in Finland, third year that I've been at the competition, doing the play-by-play there with Hanu and the crew. And then we'll take a look at the World Fitness Project Qualifier number 2 that launched today, a few hours ago. And then we'll set up the UBL Italian Championships that happened or will happen this weekend. I'm flying to Naples, Italy, meet up with Joe Siastola and a new competition for us this year. So that'll be the general lineup. And I'll let Patrick kind of guide us through it.
Yeah. So I mean, it's your third year at up in Finland, correct?
Yeah, the last 2 seasons, this was more or less at the end of August competition. And for a variety of different reasons, they moved it up a couple months this year. It was a little stressful for the team to have 2 months less runway. Most competitions that run once annually, they're planning 12 months a year for their competition. So there's definitely some variables in play for them with that. But this is a really, I mean, I speak about it all the time publicly and privately. Like, this is a very well organized competition. Basically, just the Finnish people are very well organized, and that really shows through in what they produce here. That's a shot of like the staff, volunteers, judges, everybody. This is the head staff, and it's not a huge amount of people. Even their broadcast is a small group of guys, and they produce a pretty high level broadcast. I've always been impressed with the director and the graphics and EVS operators that they bring there. The cameramen are very versatile. So it's a fun competition to be a part of. It's a big one for the community here. Their stands are always packed, rain or shine. I think it's a really good experience for the vendors. And we talk a lot about the if you guys did happen to listen to the competition conversation we had with Roger a couple of years ago now, we talked about the pillars of competitions and making sure that everyone is having a good experience there. Turku Tuomiopa iva delivers on all of those fronts. So I really like coming here and grateful to continue to have the chance.
Yeah. And how many events? And I mean, kind of like how many events over how many days?
The structure of the competition is pretty much the same every year. It's a 3-day competition for the elite division. It's a 2-day competition for the RX division. There's 20 male and female athletes in the elite and 40 in the RX. So there's 120 total athletes. The first day, every year that I've come here, has been an off-site for the elites only. And then for the RX and the elite divisions, they typically have 3 scoring opportunities per day on set both Friday and Saturday. It's a little different than most competitions. It's Thursday is the offsite. Friday, Saturday are the main 2 days of competition. And so it ends Saturday night. And then they have the after party Saturday well into the morning, and then the crew shows up on Sunday for teardown, and people can get back on Monday for work. So it's a little different flow than most competitions, but it works well for them here.
Yeah. And like I said, it starts Thursday and ends on Saturday. Different, a little bit different. I see that it's like a really good mixture between the indoor swimming event, had a biking event. I mean, it seemed like it hit just about every level or every modality of fitness.
It's actually an outdoor pool that they have. It's like
Oh,
it's a 5 to 10 minute walk from the venue, and they used it 2 years ago. Last year they were off site doing like a mini sort of triathlon, and they near a lake. They scrapped the lake because of what happened at the games. They implemented a ski erg instead, but they still did that offsite location, and they were back in the pool this year. But yeah, I mean, Yonakoski, I think is if you followed his athletic career, you'll know that he's a big outdoor fitness type of guy. Loves bikes, the road bikes, long distance. He did a trip with Adrian Moonbio this past off season, all up and down the coast of Norway. And then swimming, they always get in the pool typically, and he's obviously got a big swimming background. So those are usually like the two one you can count on, kind of one or two of those things, one of two showing up. They got both of them this year. But the programming, I think, when you look at it in totality this year, it was very specific. Like ended up actually being 8 scoring opportunities because they had a two-parter that was worth 100 points each, preceding the final, which obviously creates a lot of volatility in the leaderboard. But of those 8 scoring opportunities, I think 2 of them you would consider to be sort of traditional Metcons, 3 rounds for time, and then a traditional chipper finisher. The rest of them, I would say, a specific skill sort of carried the day. They had a really nasty ruck run as the offsite event on first day of competition up this ski hill. You'll see it here if Patrick plays this video, but this is for the elite division only, and obviously if you train this, you got a chance at it. If you don't train it, it was pretty tough. They had a 8-round event with the bikes, the canyon bikes, and then they had the swimming event. So those are like 3. And while the swimming event was a buy-in with squats and ski erg, I still think that it was really advantageous to be good at swimming. So 3 kind of monostructural specific events. Then they had a sled push shuttle run, quick one, power output, like a 1-minute time domain. They had a 3-round for time workout with 33-pound wall ball for the men, 20 pounds for the women, and strict handstand push-ups. So that was, upper body dominant pressing. There was also burpee box jump overs, so the shoulder stamina and fatigue there. And then they had a handstand walk ramp, legless rope climb, also very quick one. The legless rope climb didn't come into play much. It was all about proficiency over the ramp and the stairs. So a lot of the events were, and then they had it was supposed to be a clean and jerk speed, kind of a clean and jerk speed ladder, but the rain came again that evening. So we changed it to kind of a clean ladder with multiple reps at each weight. So pretty specific tests on each one of them, reminiscent of the 2007 or potentially 2018 early workouts at the CrossFit Games.
let's take a look at the leaderboard here. I know we didn't do a preview of it, but you did put out some of your picks. But let's switch over and take a look at the leaderboard with some familiar names, I think. But we'll
look at them.
Yep.
Start with the men.
Yep.
Some familiar names, especially if you're familiar with Finland, and then some familiar names maybe on the more global or European scale. It ended up being where all 3 podium spots went to Finnish guys, but I think of those 3, Ludvig Hansen is largely going to be the most well-known, having made multiple semifinals appearances, podium at this competition the last couple of years as well. But look at the points, 10 points between 3 guys, and Tatu Ranhaimo, who ends up winning this competition, won 4 of the 8 scoring events and still tied on points with Ludvig Hansen. So that basically what happened in this competition was that from 6th place up was just like those guys were almost in a different tier of competition than the rest of the guys in the division. And Ludvig Hansen was probably more consistent across all the events, with not as low of a finish. But you win 4 events out of 8. It's hard to say that you're not deserving of the win. Tatu caught my eye last year. He was 10th place at this competition last year. It was his first serious competition. And I think I picked him 5th in the rankings behind everyone else that's in the top 6 except for Sam Zerlich, who I picked 6th. And he made a huge strides forward this year. Let me give you this is a fun stat. On that motivation mountain, the first workout, the offsite ruck, the difference between the first and last place female athletes was 90 seconds from fastest to slowest. Tato beat the entire men's field by 80 seconds. He was 80 seconds faster than the next fastest guy. It was absolutely insane. I think it's like, maybe it's recency bias, but it felt like one of the 10 most impressive things I'd ever seen compared to the field of competitors he was doing it against. And he had a couple workouts like that. And apart from the strict handstand push-ups, which are clearly a little hole that he's still working on, the guy's capacity was just ridiculous. Like, the transitions were faster than everyone else. The burpees and the wall balls were faster than everyone else. He got through the couplet of swim before the swim faster than everyone else, and then he was able to hold on the swim. He ran with the bike in the transitions faster than everyone. I mean, he just looked like, unless there was a skill thing, handstand walk and handstand push-up, that he was like unstoppable in terms of needing to take a rest. It was a really impressive performance by him.
Sounds like it. Especially that type of workout with the ruck. Anything else? I mean, obviously, winning 4 events, and then Ludwig. I mean, what was so impressive? I mean, what was Ludwig doing? Was he just staying consistent? Looks like here's 7 top 5 finishes. No event wins.
Yeah, no event wins. Everything was 2nd through 6th. So I had actually said to some of the men in the field that I thought this was a type of competition, because each of the workouts were pretty much all favored towards a specialist, that you could see an athlete not win a single workout and still win the competition. And Ludwig almost did that. The margins, obviously, in this sport, we know they're getting smaller and smaller. But on the 8-round workout of bike and sandbag carry, Ludwig was outlegged by Ulda Supanix by 1 step. And that's the difference, and you could point to all these little things, but that's how close it was for him. So, he ultimately didn't get any event wins, so he didn't have any bad events. And at the end of the day, it was a tiebreaker that prevented him from getting the win here. But another solid performance in Finland for Ludwig, and he's a dad now. His wife, I think, gave birth to their daughter 1 week after the competition last year, so in September. So she's not even a year old. And it's pretty cool to, I mean, obviously everyone who's a parent knows that sleep gets compromised, time gets stretched a little thin, and to still be able to, stay at the top of this field and be right in contention for the win, I think is probably a testament to just his overall fitness, but also that he comes to this competition with the intent of competing very well.
And rounding out the all finish podium is Sam Zerlich. 2 event wins, 7 top 5s.
Yeah, really impressive competition for Sam as well. So Sam and Tatu, and then there's one other guy in this field, Teemu Kellio, he's outside the top 10, I think. They all train together at the same gym, I think in Tampere. And they have a YouTube channel. It's called HiriTube, which means like mouse tube. I don't quite get the joke, but they're wearing these mouse YouTube shirts. And Sam and Tatu told me when they started this competition that they were both going to podium. Obviously, I said, well, that'd be great. Let's see it. And I mean, I obviously thought they were good. I picked them 5th and 6th, but I've seen Sam compete at this competition before. He was at Wadland Fest. I've never seen him look as good as he did this weekend. And I think that, you and I talk about it a lot. Sometimes when the momentum starts going, you just see the best of athletes. And I think for both Tatu and Sam, they came in with the belief that they could do this. But once they started reeling off 1st, 2nd place events in the start of the weekend, then the belief started to really set in. They were able to, they're motivating each other. They're obviously competing with each other, but they both want to see the other one do well also. And I think that they just really capitalized on that as much as they could. If you look at the 9th place finish there for Sam, that was on the handstand walk stairs event. So he just got basically caught up on the last stairs to ramp. A couple of guys ended up passing him, and that was the difference. I mean, he's only 10 points out of 1st place. So to have 3 guys when there's 800 points available, all getting basically 700 points and being within 10 points of each other. Obviously, it was a very compelling competition, and it's a pretty easy one to watch if you just search Turku Tuomiopa iva. Like I said, you can go to Rayo Payo's websites, or Rayo Pai is the streaming company, whatever the channel is, and you can watch these. It's easy to scroll through them, and you can see some of these guys. I think that Taktu is a little bit younger than Sam, and he's got some potential if he starts trying to travel for competitions. I could see him taking, a top 10 in Dubai, competing for podiums and German throwdowns, those types of competitions. So I'm hopeful that he'll be motivated by this to start competing a little bit outside of Finland, because I think he's got some serious talent.
And right outside of leaderboard, we mentioned some of those familiar names. A guy who's, I don't know. I mean, last I spoke to him wasn't 100%, but we saw him in some of the semifinals and online semifinals. But Uldis Upinex in fourth. Do you get a chance to talk to him? How is he in terms of health? What's going on with Uldis?
Yeah, Uldis was there with his partner, wife, and kid as well. And I did talk to him. I mean, he was I think what he posted on Instagram, he didn't post like a ton of stuff, but he's pretty guy of short, a few words basically. And he just said, overall, he's coming back from shoulder surgery. There's a little bit, range of motion in the front rack overhead that he wasn't sure about. This was, ultimately a good test for him, a variety of different things tested to see where he's at. He was coming there to try to win, to try to podium, to try to make some money. It didn't quite happen that way, but I think that it was a good step for him on the road back. I think also Uldis is very much a Metcon guy.
Mm-hmm.
Give him rounds for time, couplets, triplets, chippers, qualifier type workouts. Yeah, and I don't know what he got second there on event 2. And the final was the only other, which was one of those. And then the final was the only other one that was a kind of a Metcon, but it finished with the dumbbell snatch and overhead lunge. That was, he got fifth on it, which was fine. But this dumbbell for the men was 33.5 kilos. It's like over 80-pound dumbbell. It's not quite something that these guys have or ever train or use. And he told me that he just made it calculated there. Like there was 50 dumbbell snatches. He thought that just doing singles and setting it down every time was going to be the way to go. They only found out about that workout the day of the workout. And he said after the fact, I should have done 10s and 5s on the snatches. I just gave away too much time and I couldn't make it up on the lunge. So, he was, I think, very pragmatic in his self-assessment of the weekend. Not quite what he wanted, but I think he's still counting it as a successful step towards kind of getting back to what we expect to see from him.
Yeah, and then we have some athletes here. Holgerson, Miko Iljorg. I mean, just is there anything you want to talk about regarding some of these athletes 5 through 10?
Maybe just Geraldo, that his back was a little uncertain coming into the competition. I think up until the day he was leaving, he wasn't certain that he would come. It ended up feeling good, and it felt good throughout the competition from what I could tell. The biggest takeaway for him is that, getting back into competition this year, he's actually enjoying it, and he's planning to continue to compete. So assuming that he can keep himself healthy, I think that we'll see Geraldo continue to kind of pop into relevancy in some of these European competitions.
Yeah, and it's this is the second competition we've seen him at this year after Wadland, and like I said, he kind of just fell off, a couple of years taking off. I'm very encouraged by him. He looks, I don't know, is it me or does he look bigger? Like he looks like,
yeah.
He's a big guy to begin with. Not like big. He just looks like he's filled out more, and he looks, especially in the shoulder areas.
Yeah, I think, he's just, when we last saw him, he was in his early 20s, and now he's in his mid 20s, and just continued to, put in time in the gym and get a little bit bigger, stronger, healthier, heavier, and mature as a young man. So, I think he is probably competing a little heavier than we remember him at.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a child on the way as well. Seems like all these guys do, including Yona Koski.
Oh, well, yeah. Any day now for Yona.
Jonas and Amelia's baby is due between the games and WFP Mesa.
Oh, really?
So let's see what happens.
Oh, wow. No. So I kind of, wrapping up the men's field, we'll switch over to the women's side.
The
And
women's side, we had we had the opposite. No finish flags on the podium.
yep, close.
Very close. And and the top Finnish woman, Ida Kontinen, there in fourth, is actually someone I had never heard of prior to this competition. She's got a triathlon background. And obviously there was an event that favored swimming, biking, and running, with a ruck in this competition. So she did quite well on those workouts. But ultimately the skills just weren't quite there to catch up to three really good athletes, three athletes that I would consider to be inside the top 100 globally. And then she beat some other athletes behind her that have some good competition pedigree as well.
Yeah. But ultimately at the top of the leaderboard is an athlete from Belgium.
Yasmin van Arnheim. It was the one athlete I took a picture with at this competition. I usually take one picture with one athlete, and she was felt like she was. I mean, it could have easily been top two, but I'd seen him compete before, and it felt like Yasmin was a good one to pick. I actually have been working on the top 100 worldwide rankings and was considering her for one of the last 10 to 20 spots on that group. And after this, I'll absolutely have her in there. I mean, she took a 14th on that ruck run up the mountain, but everything else was inside the top five. She won half the events just like Tatu did. She didn't take the lead from Andra Moises until the final, like going into the final. And then she had a 5-point lead there. She extended it to 10-point lead. And yeah, she was very good. She's strong. She did that barbell boulevard ended with a 95-kilo bar for a minimum of 4 reps, and then there's AMRAP in 45 seconds. So she ended up doing 7 reps, 7 power cleans at 95 kilos in 45 seconds. All the other girls, including Bergros Bjornsdottir, who got 6 reps and is probably, in my mind, one of the stronger athletes in this field. She was squat cleaning from the first one, and Yasmin is power cleaning that bar. And wow, she did great on the upper body gymnastics. And she won the final, which was pretty demanding. So she could cycle moderately heavy loads for reps. She has great overhead position. She's strong. She got you see it on the dips, ripped, and trips. She could swim. She could ride a bike. It's just the run up the hill, and I'm not entirely sure what happened there. 14th place finish is significantly worse than the rest of these. But yeah, power, finesse, gymnastics, strength. She checks a lot of boxes. She's pretty much only competed in German-speaking competitions or regions prior to this. And she's actually said to me that coming to this competition, she had no idea what to expect because she had never met or competed against a single other athlete on the list. Mm-hmm. And she goes, hey, everyone looks good in the warm-up area. So I wasn't really sure where I was going to stack up. And it just put me in this mindset of go and do your thing and see where you end up falling. And she ended up at the top. Her mom was there supporting her. It was great to talk to them and get to meet them. And yeah, congratulations to Yasmin. This is another athlete similar to Tatu that I'm hoping we start to see this name pop up. Mm-hmm. She actually registered for the WFP qualifiers, which we're going to get to in a bit. So I think that she's, we'll take a look at the workouts there, but I think that she's got a chance to maybe make it into Mesa, and then we'll get to test her against a very different field if she does that.
Yeah, I mean, especially, you get one of these, I guess, out of region competitions off your belt, and then you want to kind of expand to see where you fit in the larger scheme of things. And I think that's what the WFP, if she can make it to Mesa, I think that offers that opportunity. We saw that with a few athletes, especially even in Challenger division, where we didn't think many of the foreign athletes would travel for, but they did. I mean, we had Jennifer Muir, who ended up winning, traveled from it. We had a couple athletes from, I believe, Norway that traveled in for it. So, but I mean, if we definitely don't see her WFP, we'll probably more likely see her at the German Throwdown or some of those other competitions. But I think another thing is where Turku is located as it's basically it's right there. It's very accessible for like people from Poland, German, Estonia, like on Moistus is, a lot of the Baltics region there, and then even Belgium. I mean, you essentially could take a ferry. I mean, probably flying would probably be best, but you could take the ferry even there. So,
well, the Estonians do that. Yeah, they come across on the ferries.
Yeah.
But yeah, speaking of Estonia, Andra Moistis, she competed here last year. She took third place, and this year she took the lead very early on in the competition, 2 event wins to start things off. She had her biggest weakness exposed on the barbell boulevard. That's expected with the top end strength being pretty much the only thing that is keeping her out of the elite realm of females worldwide, actually, as you look at the rest of the events there in the top 5. She got second this year, and I talked to her, and she said that she's hoping to win it next year. So she's got a third and a second. She's just missing that top spot, but she loves this competition. All of the athletes that traveled in had exceedingly positive things to say about the competition experience here. And obviously, I feel very strongly about that, but it's totally different to hear that from athletes and coaches who've traveled and competed at big competitions to say that the facilities, the communication, there's a couple of really small things, like they keep the bathrooms, the porta potties super clean. They provide healthy meals for athletes and staff twice a day on site at the venue. They have a guy who's designated to take care of and check in on the international athletes to make sure that they're getting what they want. Obviously, we see stuff like this at super big competitions like Wodapalooza, WFP. We know that there's specified people for these roles. They have it here in this competition well, and it does not go unnoticed by especially the athletes that are traveling in. In Finland, that's just kind of the standard. Even at their like smaller competitions, those things are always happening. And like I said, I think it's just really a cultural thing here. Very organized, clear in communication. Try not to leave the details. Yeah.
Hospitable.
So, and then Bergros, she was actually never in a podium spot, I don't think, until after the final. It was very close, but maybe it was 5. She had a 5. She was within 5 points of it, but you see she started with 11.55, and then she just reels off some good events finishes there, leading into the finale. So the run got her again. Ultimately, she's basically 50 points between the top 2 women, but she ends up getting a 25-point buffer over 4th. And I had picked these 3 girls to podium, but not in this order. I wasn't really sure about Yasmin. She obviously was impressive, but kind of at the end of the day, the 3 women that you expected filtered towards the top. Maybe the order a little bit different, but all 3 of these, like I said, are women that I consider to be within the top 100 globally. So not necessarily surprising to see them up there, but it is great to get some more data and touch points with each of them competing, because I think that all 3 of them, I'm still learning some stuff about them as athletes, and I think that their competition history is kind of just getting started, even though in the case of Andra, she's already competed at some pretty big-time events.
Yeah, most notably 2 years ago, just crashing onto the scene at Wodapalooza 2 years ago and, contending for a podium spot there. It's cool to see Bjornsdottir. This is her first major podium as a outside of the team division. She obviously made the podium as a teen athlete, has aged out. We've seen a lot of her. We saw her at Wildland Fest. We've seen her at Wodapalooza a couple times, and now to kind of get a podium, kind of under her belt, it says a lot of good things for her. This former teen athlete. We're seeing like her, Reese Littlewood, Miley Wade. Some of these teen athletes. I mean, Miley Wade's still competing in team division, but we're seeing some of these athletes. Lucy McGonigal. I mean, those three, Reese, Lucy, and Burgos, they are the podium for the 16 to 17, and they all aged out. To kind of see them have like success. I mean, Lucy podium at a semifinal. Reese podium at a semifinal, a 3rd place as well, and now you have Burgos kind of doing her, keeping up with that podium from the team division. So future looks very for these women.
Pretty talented class of athletes coming out of that age group.
Yes.
And I'm just going to run through a couple other names here.
Sure.
Stennin Svansdottir there in 5th. I saw her in Wadland. She was the 3rd Icelandic athlete to compete here. So they brought 3 athletes over. They finished 3rd, 5th, and 5th. I mean, it's a great showing for maybe the next generation of Icelandic competitors. We've been talking about the fact, I think this is the first time since 2009, there's no one from Iceland competing at the CrossFit Games, but there are some upcoming athletes that will be in the mix in the years to come, and she's one of them. For another solid performance here for her. Behind her is Marika Seppälä from Finland. She's now done 6 competitions in 6 months, which was the plan. She knows it's not the way to optimize any one competition, but she's got several podiums. She podiumed at Athens Throwdown behind Karen Freyova and Syria Meha, who are both CrossFit Games athletes. And she has, has a couple hiccups here, but overall, another solid performance. And obviously, when you're competing that often, it is kind of what it is. But we've seen her compete internationally before, and now she's competing back home. This girl in seventh is probably the one that I want to highlight the most. Iri Seppänen. She is, I think, 18 or 19 years old. She was in a podium position for a majority of the weekend. She took a couple of hits towards the end, but she and then two other women who were in this elite field were the first. She was first. The woman who was in 10th place on this list was second place, and then another woman was third place. I'd say women, but this is young women. These are below 20 years old, all three of them, and taking the top three in the Finnish functional fitness competition a couple in April. So both her and Ninja, they're in 10th. I think will be in Lithuania at the finals, competing for the IF3s this year.
Nice. Like to see a little. Yeah. No, I mean, 10 obviously. Ninja just sticks out to me at all. I mean, that's what an awesome name.
Well, and the cool thing is, and we had this experience with Reese Littlewood. I guess it was two years ago now at Syndicate, talking to these young women that are 18, 19 years old, and you wouldn't like if you did like one of those like Love Is Blind things, and you were just talking to a person, you would have no idea they're 18-year-old people. Yeah. Like their mentality is well beyond their years. They're very articulate, and of course, English isn't even their first language, although most Finnish people speak English very well. But they're very articulate. They have a good thought process. They seem to have their emotions mostly in check. And I think that, overall, like this is not something we talk about too often, but think about it. If you're that good at 18 and 19 years old, from the time you're 14 until now, those 5 years, where so many people around the world might get caught up in partying, drinking, drugs, sex, whatever else. If you're focused on competing at something like this, you don't have time for something like that. And that means that during the formative years, that your mind is actually developing the way that it should. And so maybe it's not that surprising that these young athletes are so articulate and so easy to talk to and sound like adults because they're not damaging their mental capacities as they're developing during those years.
Before we go on, I just want to send a shout out to your boy Nikita. Like I guess this is like, he came all the way from Chicago. I know it's not the finish he wanted, but nevertheless, get an international competition. I wanted to give some love to him.
Yeah, he put up a post. He was pretty bummed and pretty hard on himself, as he usually is. But it is the first competition he's done outside of the U.S. He's the first American to travel to compete over here, and he got a heat win on strict verdict there, where he got fourth place overall, and he got an interview out of it. He actually had a sprint race to the finish against another guy. He legged him out. There was a sprint race to the finish on the sled push workout. He legged the guy out there. And then on the handstand wrap, he got another sprint to the finish. So 3 separate times he had to sprint to the finish, and he won all 3 of those sprints across the floor. So there were some highlights, but he's not a good off-road biker. He's not a good swimmer. He was not prepared for the ruck up the mountain. He wasn't prepared for the 83-pound dumbbell, and he got more or less last place on those 4 events. So qualifier, he finished 8th overall, won one of the workouts. The test in the finals was very different than the qualifier, and he got exposed.
Yeah, but again,
he's not the only one. We talked about it with the World of Super next too.
Mm-hmm.
You put a regional style slate of workouts out there, and there's probably podiums where you're not running up a mountain, you're not swimming in a pool, you're not riding on a road bike. But not every athlete is trained for that, and and there's no competitions that the competition's not required to test for anything. They test what they want to test. There's no question that you had to be fit to do well on this, but the fitness was a little different than the competitions that he's used to doing.
Is it him right here?
Mm-hmm.
I figured when you started talking about sprint to the finish, I was like, oh, that picture had to have been Nikita then, so that's cool. Well, I'm glad. Yeah, I mean, he may not have gotten first, but he did get a first in terms of being the first American to compete at this. Well,
dude, how sick is that one shot of the girl in the white and red there with the hands?
Yeah, that full. I mean,
that's Iris actually that I was telling you about.
Oh yeah,
but that picture was, I was like, wow, that picture is crazy.
Yeah, just straight up scorpion out of that. Yeah, obviously Marius was there shooting, but it just
this actually is a cool picture here.
Huh?
That's Nikita in the cutoff. Right
Yes.
behind them is Mika Sola, 16'9" Finnish national swimming champion, and behind him is Sam Whitworth from the UK. And it was cool talking to these guys. Mika basically took Nikita and Sam under his wing and kind of they were competing against each other, but showing him the ropes. That's ninja, by the way.
Moving like a
Yeah.
ninja.
So, and it was just I just always feel good leaving this competition. It's like there's nothing. I don't have anything bad to say about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you did, you probably wouldn't be staying at Hanu's place right now. Then.
No, I mean, I the biggest critique you could have about the competition is that the programming was testing specific things, and it's like we just said, like that's up to the programmer to decide.
Yeah,
and there's nothing wrong with the workouts. They created drama. Look at the leaderboard: 10 points between 3 guys, 10 points between 2 of the women. It was compelling and fun. There's Jasmine.
Yeah, and that's what I've always said about these competitions is like, I mean, there's really only, I mean, the test of fitness, to find the fittest, it's the games. These competitions is trying to find the fittest in those particular for that competition. And that may be different for whoever is programming it. It's
And
up
a
to
lot of these athletes, like a lot of competitions, they come back year after year. So you got to keep something fresh. You got to keep something new for them. And if you're traveling in for it, you understand that this is one iteration of it. And if you want to get that diversity, come back the next year, and Yona will have some new surprises up his sleeve. Dude, this podium, this podium for the elite women, Yasmin and Björgos had never opened a champagne bottle before, and I think Andra's only time was last year on the podium. They were more nervous to go do that than they were for any workout during the weekend.
That's funny. I love the ring. You get a ring for winning, so it's just kind of cool, almost.
And
like
they always have the ring. It's a big deal. It was really cool, the hype video they made. The guy who's like carving it, and he's whatever, and then at the very end and finish, of course, he's like, who will win the ring or something like that. But they also have like an apparel, something for the champions every year. Last year they had a vest, and this year they had that sweatshirt, custom made sweatshirt that you saw. One of or Yasmin's wearing it right there.
Yeah, really cool. Obviously, it's a competition that you've done. You spent 3 years with your cohort. You and it's just.
Nina.
Yeah, I'm just so I'm hoping next year to try to. Marius talks really highly of it. It's like who knows, if I would have been able to stay in Germany one more month, I would have came up and visited. But yeah, I think it would really be cool to see. Like I said, Nikita came over from the U.S. It would be cool to kind of see some other regional athletes. I think it's with Europe, this competition. I think the next big European competition, technically in my mind, would probably be German Throwdown. There might be 1 or 2 before that. But I mean, there's a couple.
There are a couple in Spain, Barcelona in September.
Yeah,
but yeah.
But those are like, I mean, there's a good gap like for these athletes, to move on, and maybe a 2-month gap to go do another competition or qualifiers, and which kind of leads us into WFP. So we'll just transition over to WFP. And
let's just catch up with our friend here, Sagan.
Oh yeah.
We're talking about WFP right now. PC is dark because he's still getting his setup back in St. Louis after a year in Germany, and I'm in Finland at Hanu's place, heading to Italy tomorrow. There you go, all caught up.
Nice. WFP Challenger Qualifier 2. So these are our online qualifiers. These are for the athletes who do not have a contract. WFP contract, and this is how they qualify for the live events. So the challengers they'll all have to do these 3 workouts that were released today. So even if if they're a challenger and competed at WFP, they still have to do these qualifiers unless your name is Fee Sagafi and Colton Mertens. They because they were the highest qualifiers, challengers to finish in the live event, they got an automatic pass. So instead of 10 athletes, which ended up being 11 for the women, they were going to be looking for 9 athletes, barring anything happens to any of the athletes that are signed. Because the reason why we had 11 is because we had some injuries that took an athlete out. So, and then
we actually ended up having 12.
2, yeah, 2 because Haley getting hurt, or not hurt, but sick prior to. right after the online semifinal. So right now,
We'll
technically,
say well earned by Colton and Fee.
yeah, I don't know about lucky, but yeah. So right now as it stands, barring anything as of today, they'll take the top 9 finishers in the online qualifier, the second one, and they will automatically be put in the what do we want to call that,
The pro field.
the pro field. There we go, the pro field against the 20 sign athletes and the 2 automatic qualifiers and Fee and Colton. So, and then the next 20 from there, they will be, if they accept their invitations, they will be a part of the challenger division, which consists of the next 20 challenger qualifiers that accept their invitation. So, I don't know. Did I explain that okay, I guess?
Pretty good. And this is like, we've been kind of previewing what could happen when this second challenger comes out. And it's worth noting, by the way, that for this challengers qualifier, similarly to the open, you don't have to register it ahead of time. You don't have to register it before you do any of the workouts. You just have to register for it and enter your workouts before the qualifier ends. A couple of things that I think is cool is that they extended the timing of this. So it actually was announced 4 hours earlier and ends 8 hours later than last time, where it was at noon Central Time in the US to noon Central Time in the US. They did 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. to accommodate more time zones globally, which was feedback that they got and that they've acted upon, as we've seen that they've done with several different things. And this is the beginning, basically, of round 2 of their season, right? Round 1 was a qualifier in Indianapolis. Round 2 is this qualifier plus Mesa. And we know that they've already announced some other changes for Mesa based on feedback from the global population. So I saw somewhere that there are significantly fewer people sign up for Challenger 2 qualifier than there were for Challenger 1. Well, just in terms of a number standpoint, there's no point in analyzing that until the competition ends or the qualifying window ends, because as everything I just said. Secondarily, this is what Patrick and I have been projecting, is that it's going to be interesting to see how athletes choose to go about this qualifier. Will has been pretty clear about something. This is a qualifier that's meant to test for elite fitness. You're trying to get into a field to compete against what we know based on numbers now is actually the most competitive field of athletes that will line up anywhere around the world this season, not just once, but at least 3 times. And therefore, he has to put a pretty challenging test out. So we have the entire global population would be considering this with a bunch of different variables in play. One, they've already seen the first qualifier and how that played out. So there may be a lot of people that were curious for the first one that, for whatever reason, they realized it wasn't for them. Maybe they weren't good enough. Maybe it doesn't fit into their competitive schedule the way the season's evolved. If they've qualified for the games or gotten injured or sick, or they've competed 7 times in the first 6 months of the year, and they're just like, I need a break from competition. There's also athletes that maybe thought that they were going to have a certain level of success this year that haven't, and they may be entering into the field. I think there's already some of those that we'll see there. And then there's also things that we've learned on the road, which is, for example, this is a really difficult season structure for Australians. So we had a bunch of Australians sign up for the first one. Even one of them or 2 of them qualified and didn't make the trip there. And they may not be doing this one because it's not very easy or practical for them to try to get to the States with it, as expensive as it is, and with such a premium for points. So there's just tons of different variables in play. But ultimately, I think for the WFP, they're not worried about the number of people signing up for this. They're worrying about, is the test vetting for athletes that are going to be competitive against the field once they get to Indianapolis. And if you watch the On the Pulse episode that Derek and Will did, Will said that right towards the end of the episode. I believe that the athletes who qualify through this will make their way, will be competitive against the athletes in Mesa. And I would say, similar to the last chance qualifier, okay, there weren't a lot of people that signed up to it compared to years past. That's not what's important. What's important is the one athlete that qualified out of that competition, which was all the spots available, is going to be competitive at the games. They're very good athletes. And I think that's what we'll get here too, regardless of the number of signups.
And I think the argument can be made across the board for most fitness championships that registration's been down. I mean, you can make an argument for the games. I mean, look at the last chance qualifier. Only had freaking, this is for a spot at the games, and only 20 people total, signed up, men and women. So, but I mean, you're like you said, Brian, it's going to happen. But I also think, we're going to see more signees as the deadline on 8th of July comes to an end. It might not be as many. It might be more, because there's a lot of athletes who were training for the games, and their game season is now over. Now this they can try Mesa out
the other thing that's worth noting is that the competitive landscape for the entire year exists, and in the United States, for whom this competition is most accessible, there's 3 competitions happening in July that are noteworthy. There's Metcon Rush, which a lot of athletes from up and down the East Coast are competing in, who would be maybe not pros, but challenger-worthy candidates. Yeah. There's Magic City Games, which draws a different population from the South and the Midwest, and there's Monster Games, which draws another population. Those 3 competitions are all happening in July. This competition's in July, and the U.S. is the most accessible group of athletes who would potentially compete here. So if you just want to say on a numbers basis, there's less people, great. But if you want to think a little bit, there's a lot of reasons why that might make sense, and some of them from a competitive standpoint, some of them from a competition season standpoint, and then also just from people learning about the competition and realizing, I want to be involved in WFP or support it in some way. I think it's cool, but maybe not everyone is like our girl Lynn, who just wants to sign up and finish last. She put that post out there, that comment out there.
Okay, just making sure. These came out this morning, and like you said, if you want to catch the episode of Will and Derek, they it's a 20-minute video talking about some of the qualifying events. Derek asked Will some of his thinking when it comes to some of the programming. We'll kind of dip into it right now. First event, 4-time 20-minute cap. Once again, starting off with a kind of a long chipper type workout. 50 to 35 calorie row, 50 GHD sit-ups, 50 single dumbbell box step overs, 50 alternating hang dumbbell clean and jerks, 50 single dumbbell box step over, 50 GHD sit-ups, and then 50 and 35 calorie row that ended. This full standards, they do have videos and points of performance up on the YouTube channels for these workouts as well.
YouTube channels, it's on the website, it's on Competition Corner, so you can find the information for these multiple different places. And longer workout. I think he said that 15 to 17 minutes would be a good time for the top athletes on this one. As always, the athletes surprise and impress, so we may see some sub-15s in there, but introducing a couple new movements here. He talked about that a little bit. He basically said, look, it's a whole season. There's 5 events, 5 opportunities to program between the 2 qualifiers, the 2 steps, and the finals. And you'll definitely see some things repeat over the course of those, but you're also going to see some new things as we go throughout the season. And we get several new things in this qualifier compared to the last one. GHD, and they also put out the equipment list a week or 2 ahead of time. So, I mean, I was even talking with Mikko Lilliorg. We went to Estonia and visited his gym there, and there was no GHD sit-up machine. And he said, well, I'm planning to do the qualifiers for WFP. And I said, do you have a GHD? And he goes, no, but there's a gym in Tallinn that I go to when I need a rope climbs and GHD sit-ups. And everyone in the community here is very helpful. There's no bitterness towards other box owners or anything like that. So the athletes are able to prepare for that because they've announced the equipment list early.
I mean, I can see the Norwegians doing pretty well in this. And on the men's side, I mean, we can look at. Actually, let's do that. Let's look and see who's already signed up, and that way we can kind of maybe give some like early predictions or whatever. But if you don't mind, I'm going to switch on that.
No, Brian. Definitely. I've been tracking this very closely, day by day. I check basically once a day at night before I go to bed, and I would say there were a lot more competitive women signed up early than there were men, but now it's starting to level out.
Yeah. So if you kind of give it a contrast for qualifier 1, 495 people signed up, participated actually, not just signed up, participated. 50 represented 53 countries, 6 continents. Right now, combined, as of right now, combined, we have 83 men and women. So 42 women, 41 men. So, I mean, I definitely see that number going up. I mean, that number will be higher by the time July, end of the workout. You have to
Well,
see.
and think about in a usual year for Rogue, there are people
Yeah.
who sign up for the qualifier just to get the T-shirt, but the number of participants in the past 2 years who actually are putting scores in to compete for that
Yeah.
is less than 100, because
Yeah.
they know that it's a very competitive competition, and
Yeah.
this qualifier is trending towards
Being
that's there's more spots available, but it is a high level competition.
Yeah, exactly. So looking at the men's field, is that up? Yeah.
Mhm.
A name that sticks out here is Brian Guillaume. Um, moving
Caleb
down,
McClure, former teenage CrossFit Games athlete.
Ibarra, who qualified as competed in the pro division as a challenger, so it's only natural to
Well,
see
and
him
Chris would be in a qualifying spot for a pro card next year also.
here
So
now
you
currently.
know this is Chris is one of the athletes that we look at throughout this season, and I feel like he's done a good job of maximizing his competition value.
Mhm.
Did the
Yes.
qualifier, got into the pro field barely,
Mhm.
capitalized on that by finishing I think 16th. He did one semifinal, I believe one live semifinal, qualified to the games, and
Mhm.
now he's going to do this qualifier. If he gets into the field there, pro or challenger, I think that he's actually sets himself up almost guaranteed for a
To
spot in
be
Copenhagen,
yes.
which means then he can do the games, he can do the Mesa, and he can do Copenhagen. And if he doesn't do anything else this year, he's put himself in basically everything that he would want to be a part of. And if he does well enough at the games, which he should actually be able to do this year,
Mhm.
per Rogue's traditional. Well, if they invite 15, I don't know, but if they invite the top 20 from the games, I think that there's a good chance. I don't think they'll invite the top 20 actually, because I
No.
think they'll hold spots for signed athletes of their own who
Yeah.
aren't competing at the games, i.e., Laura Horvath.
Mhm.
But Chris has a chance to finish in the top 15 at the games this year for sure. And if he does that, he could also get an invite to Rogue. This could end up being like the perfect execution of a very unknown season by the athlete that is Chris Ibarra.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think he's setting himself up really good for these live competitions. Not the greatest when it comes to online qualifications, but like you said, he could just do enough to be a challenger. It pretty much he's done enough in the first pro event that he all but may have guaranteed a spot in Copenhagen. Um, Another name, Fabian Benito Salas. Henrique Morea, Jack Farlow, who we saw was a challenger, is now signing up as a challenger again. So, he's the guy who's already got points as a challenger, and if he can make it in as a pro, he can gather more points. Or, if one of the athletes who were challengers that didn't compete that compete in a pro division didn't sign up, it puts him in a good opportunity to do that as well. Justin Lane, Kyle Berner, moving down here, Nicholas Bidon.
I think Nicolas Bidon has a serious chance to qualify in the pro division. He's very good on the online qualifiers. He impressed me in live competition. I think these workouts are pretty good for him overall. So I think he's a contender for top 10 in this, or top 9.
Yeah, for a Canadian, I'm rooting for Jack. He's been great on the Boys Interrupted. Uh, Ryan Zhevnig, a frequent listener of the show and supporter. Yeah, and then kind of going down.
Theo
Tommaso,
Mork right there from Norway, 18-year-old kid. He made the games last year as a teenager, and he competed at the Norwegian Throwdown with a female who's 17 and qualified for the games this year. They got second place there at that competition on a tie break, I think. First time I saw him saw him compete live. So kind of cool that he signed up here. Just a little bonus info.
yeah, nice to see another. Maybe he's the future of the Norwegian. We know about the Norwegian women, the up and comers, and maybe he's leading the
He's
charge.
good. Yeah, he's got a good demeanor. He's strong for his age. I think he's got some talent.
Yeah. So Zane Hatfield,
Tommaso
another.
Pieri, Yeah, Tomas Pieri made the challenger division in Indy. He's running it back, and I think like here's the thing: if you happen to qualify challenger in both of them, I think that there's going to be at least one or two athletes that make it to the finals without ever competing in the pro field, because we know that some of those pros from Indy won't be here or won't qualify for it for whatever reason.
Well, I mean, I think that's all but guaranteed on the women's side, in my opinion. On the men's side, maybe. So.
Well, it'll be fun. That'll be a fun topic of conversation a couple of weeks from now when we see who's actually made it through.
Yeah.
We see who was in Indy, who's not going to be in Mesa for whatever reason, and then we can really start to kind of set the stage for what it's going to take to get to Copenhagen.
Yeah, because if an athlete makes it, if a challenger, whoever makes it as a pro, we can pretty much know the minimum amount of points they're going to have. And if they already competed in the first one, we'll know how many points total they'll have almost, going into Copenhagen. But yeah, well, I mean, some names, notable names, not yet signed up, but I'm pretty sure they will be the, Tola. I'm trying to think who else, obviously
Ty Jenkins, Tudor Magda. Those are the ones I'm really interested in. Guys who have qualified for the games, which we don't really know. I don't know what Ty Jenkins' major objective is this year. I don't know how much he wants to compete. He might have been doing WFP, hedging his bets in case he didn't make the games. Same could be said for Tudor. And now that they've made it, maybe they decide, I'm going to focus on the games, forego WFP for this year, and then reevaluate next year. And if those guys don't sign up, then there's doors open, right? You talked about Fabian Benito. We saw Danny Camacho. He was in the pro field last year. A super outlier, by the way. The average worldwide ranking on Apollo of the guys who compete in the pro field was 27, and his worldwide ranking is almost 700. But he's got points right now to make it to Copenhagen, and he's probably not going to make it through again into the pro field. So that opens up the door. If Ty Jenkins, who would be the next guy up, or Tudor Magda, the guy after that, don't sign up for this qualifier, now suddenly you've got a lot of spaces available and a lot of opportunity for someone like Tommaso Pieri to go challenger and get to Copenhagen.
Yeah. I mean, some other names that, who didn't make the games, but now this kind of opens up for them. Anil Akai, Nate Ackerman. These are two guys that finished right outside the top 20. Nick Matthew did get a game spot. He was a challenger, pro challenger. Colin Bosshard, Tola, like I said, we mentioned Tola.
Well, Colin's another guy that made the games individual through the qualifier, so let's see what he chooses to do. Tola obviously has a game spot on a team. Let's see what he chooses to do. And so, yeah, there's a lot of variables in play. And like I said, the cool thing about this is you don't have to sign up right now. You could wait until the day of, do all the workouts, see how you feel about your scores, look at the leaderboard, and it's only $25. It's not a very expensive risk to take for these athletes that can do the competition at home. So I think the accessibility means that we'll see over the course of the week more names pop up on here. And like I said, the next couple of weeks are going to be pretty fun to see who ends up getting those spots, and then we can start pinpointing some
yeah. And we'll switch
scenarios.
and we'll switch over to the women's field, who signed up so far. Some more familiar names on the men's side. I mean, Andreas Solberg, who, Annika Greer.
Well, Anna Rebizant actually made it in the challenger field in Indy.
That's right.
So.
Yep, she did. She was in the challenger division. Andreas Solberg, Annika Greer, Caitlin Bernadine, who's had a busy off season.
I think if Annika hadn't thrown her dumbbell at the end of that last workout, she actually would have got the direct invite instead of fee.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, and she knows that too. Going down,
I'm sure she does.
Yeah, and that's just that competition experience that she's gonna have to get. I mean, it's just, and I think she recognizes. Chloe Carano, who competed as a challenger, finished top 5. Elena Caratella, she was in the challenger division as well. Let's see, Ella Wilkinson, who all came from the challenger from here, actually made it as a pro. We see Ellie Turner's name on there.
There's a couple names on the women's field that are new additions that I'm pretty excited to see.
Is another new one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then we, as you mentioned, Jasmine Van Arnhem, Jennifer Muir, who won the challenger division. Camila is a new person there. Kendall Gilmore's another new one. Lexi Neely did really well as a challenger in the pro field. Linda Kiesman, Lydia Fish. I mean, we're seeing all the women. Mariana Meza. We're seeing the majority of the women already signed up already for that have a chance that already competed in Indianapolis already signing up.
There's Maribel Gallardo. She was
Yeah.
mid pack in the challenger division. Marika Seppala, who we just talked about from Turku Tuomiopa iva. Miley Wade. I think everybody knows who she is by now.
Nicole Hare. Uda.
Yeah, Nicole signing up for this surprised me.
Yeah, same. Uda, who finished 13th, or no, 16th or 13th right now in the points. And here's another new exciting name, Paige Powers. She last.
Uda is another one that's in that Chris Ibarra category, where
Yes.
she's competing a little bit more than him because she's also doing some IF3 stuff, some team stuff, but she's setting up to have a pretty good year too.
Yeah. And then two athletes underneath her, two athletes that are coming back. One coming back from pregnancy, and one's coming back from injury. So it kind of lines up. Well, this will give them a good test to see where they're at. Paige Powers, who competed at the Mayhem Classic, just for fun. She looked like she was having fun out there, no pressure. And then Rebecca Wittison, we've seen a lot of her on social media. It looks like she's getting stronger and getting back to nearly 100%.
Yeah, I was excited to see them both. I think they both popped up yesterday or early this morning on there. And throw their name in the ring and see how it shakes out. But I haven't seen either of them in a serious competition in a while. It would be fun to get one or both of them in the field. I mean, Rebecca Wittison was starting to get pretty fit amongst the ranks in women before that injury at the semifinals. So,
yeah, she really was. I mean, and for a lot of people that know, she's been doing CrossFit for a while at a high level. She was mainly a team athlete before she kind of burst on the scene as an individual athlete. So she was kind of peaking at the right time. So it's kind of unfortunate her had that injury, but it'll be good to see her back on the competition floor. And then Sydney McAlishan, who actually got the backfill spot the day before, into the pro division and did really well. And then Trista Smith, another athlete who competed, challenger that competed in the pro division. So we're seeing majority of the women coming already signed up. So
yeah, I think like we said, we'll see some additional names in the mix, but it's already a competitive field, and at least a lot of the female athletes that were in a really good position after the first tour stop are probably, at least amongst the women we see here, favorites to make it back to Mesa in a significant capacity.
Yeah. Well, now I've kind of looked at that, kind of previewed who signed up. I see qualifier workout one. I mean, this will be obviously for the women's side. I see someone like Rebecca. I mean, any of those women that we named would probably be really good at this one. I think, I really think like someone like Rebecca Wittison, if she's healthy, this would be a good one for her. You throw in someone like Paige Powers, the GHC sit-ups. Obviously that's a staple of Mayhem programming. This will be good for any Norwegian athletes. On the men's side, I think someone like Guillaume Briand, Ibarra is really good at the sit-ups and these alternate hang dumbbell clean and jerks. I mean, these will be easy movements for him. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, talking to Will about these workouts and listening to him talk about them with Derek. He just you got to be fit. You're going to have to kind of move fast on everything here. Although it's going to be that 15-minute time domain, you have these kind of, it's like, because it's a chipper, it's like get the work done, get to the next thing, get the work done, get to the next thing, and just trust your breathing through that process. I think that the fitness will prevail here. I don't see a specialty dominating too much in this one.
Yeah. Second workout release. Oh, here we go. I'm sorry. Here's some examples. And yes, that is Colty Main. That's
John Colty.
Yep.
We don't have to watch the whole thing.
Yeah. So, and then the second workout.
He was definitely getting some love in the comment section. So John Colty.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he lives in Nashville. A former proven athlete, I think. Real good friends with Will. So it's kind of cool that they have someone with that capacity that they can use as a demo. So that's really cool. 9-minute cap. We have a 9-minute AMRAP, 9 bar facing burpees, 6 snatches, 3 build climbs.
Yeah, Will pretty much said this is going to get nasty quickly, and he suggested that if you can finish more than 6 rounds, it's going to be a good score. I think we'll see probably at least someone get 7, but that's natural. I mean, it's a lot of pulling, basically, between the snatches and the rope climb. Yeah, I think they put a pretty straightforward standard on the burpee. He said chest and thighs on the ground, get over the bar, try to eliminate any room for error with judging and these weird things. Mandating something that's really difficult to judge. So as long as you don't touch the bar, I think you're good on that one. And then it's just, like I said, same as the other one. You just got to be fit. You got to move fast. You can't waste any time. 9 minutes, got to keep moving the entirety of it.
Yeah, I like someone like Ibarra on this. It's not 185 pounds for the Met. It's not that big of a deal. And I'd like his capacity on the burpees, and he's fairly good at the rope climb. So I like him on this. And on the women's side, it's it's just it could be a number of women on the women's side. I'm trying to think of who would stick out in this workout for me. Andrea would probably be good at this. She's really good at, obviously, the burpees. She's really good at. Oda would be really good at this. I think Chloe Carano is really good at rope climbs as well. Anyone with
I was trying to think about this from a time domain.
Yeah.
Like Will said 90-second rounds would be good. You do 9 burpees at a repeatable racing pace, 25 to 30 seconds. You do 6 snatches at that weight, repetitive racing pace, maybe that's 25 seconds at the start, but probably pushing towards 40 seconds at the end. Good at rope climbs, you can do them again in under 30 seconds for the pros. You got to be pretty good at all 3 of these things.
Yeah.
And if you get stuck up on any one of them a little bit, if you're taking a step back from every bar on the snatch, then the top of the field is going to pass you by.
Yeah. I do like Lydia Fish, and again, it's 125 pounds on a snatch. I think that's not too heavy for Lydia. I think she'll be really good at all the other things. Same with Lexi Neely as well. So
Lexi Neely's exceptional when it comes to barbell cycling, and the snatches, I think, are the area where you'll see the biggest kind of deterioration of quality. She had, I think she won the event with the barbell cycling in the first qualifier. So yeah, she's probably a pretty good pick here. I mean, I also think she's at a minimum in top 30 in the world right now. So
yeah,
just very consistent and fit.
And then, of course, I think Sydney McAlishan with the rope climbs, and obviously that snatch, she'll be really good at this one as well. And then moves us up. There we go. And then moves us to workout 3. 4 time, 6-minute cap, 21 thrusters, 14 shuttle runs, 42 chest to bar pull-ups, 14 shuttle runs, and Jen finishing up 21 thrusters. Weight is 135 for the men, 95 for the women. Oh, that's a heavy thrusters.
I know. And listening to Will talk about this, I mean, I had to remember that. I think if Will was still competing, he'd be around 30th-ish best in the world, maybe better than that. I mean, the guy's incredibly fit, especially at this kind of stuff. And he basically said cycle rate on the thrusters, the cadence of the thrusters, going unbroken on the chest to bars, and running faster on the shuttle runs than you want to is what you're going to need to do to win this one.
Yeah,
I think none of those things sound fun or doable for me. I was watching back the broadcast. I was prepping for Mesa, of course, and at the end of Thaco bike sled push workout, Max Krieg was doing an interview, and he talks about it's like the short ones are kind of easier because you just push so hard, then you're like within 30 seconds to a minute of finishing, and you just have these mental games. I can do anything for a minute, and then it's over, and then it hits you. If people are finishing this in 3.5 minutes, then maybe it's just one of those where they're just going fast enough on it that they don't have time to think, and after the fact, they're just going to be miserable.
Mm-hmm. And as you can see, the standard is just crossing the line with both feet. You don't have to touch on the other side of the line. So there are some new standards to some things. So make sure if you are competing in these, that you check out the online and go to the YouTube channel for the full standards. So yeah. Oh, So that was WFP releasing that today. So yeah, it starts today. You have till the 8th to submit your score, July 8th. So excuse me. When to end our show.
I mean, we should. What we should. Last thing we'll say about that, to piggyback off what you said, there were like 30 or 40 athletes that got zeroed out scores on the first qualifier for not doing things that are very explicitly written in the rule book.
Mhm.
And Will listed out some stuff on the show again today. He's like, hey, if you're signing up for this, read the rules, do these things. There will be penalties if you don't. If you're throwing your name in the ring, give yourself a chance. Give your fitness a chance. Make sure that you're checking all those little boxes.
Essentially treat this like you're doing a road qualifier.
Mhm.
And I think the last thing we want to talk about before we go is, again, Brian, you're on week 2 or concluding week 2 of your 3-week European tour. Sorry. And your next stop is Naples, Italy, for the UBL Italian Championships.
Yeah, new stop for us this year at Eurasia Throwdown 2 opens ago now. Joe Siastula and I were there. He met some women who were involved with this competition. They brought him there to do the MC. He was telling me it was a super fun competition to be a part of. He introduced me to the organizers, and now I have a chance to go there and be a part of their live stream. So they have a live stream that plays on site there, plays on their website in Italian, and we're going to integrate it to have an English stream as well. They do have tons of athletes. This is actually a really big competition, multiple venues. I think 1,300 plus athletes total, teams, individuals, beginner through elite. We saw Lisa Fuliano there. I think she's definitely the best athlete competing at this competition. But there are 1,670 athletes. I mean, it's a big competition. I was looking at the schedule, the programming, the logistics of it. So I'll get there tomorrow. Get integrated with the crew in the afternoon. Get everything set up to start streaming on Friday. 3-day competition. I believe there are 6 workouts. I think they've announced either 4 or 5 of them, and then the final will be announced after the fact. Obviously, it's majority Italian, but even in the pro division, they got athletes from several different countries, even the U.S., so Mexico, several from Spain, Poland, Great Britain, Greece, Turkey. Some athletes that if you watch all of our streams, you'll be familiar with that are coming to compete here from some of those countries, but also a lot of new athletes. There's a majority of the athletes in the elite division that I have not seen compete live before.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see. Again, 56 countries, over 16, just under 1,700 athletes. That's ridiculous, and they're advertising as a party and a good time. So, I'm looking forward to that. So, will the American feed, be broadcasted on B.Friendly Fitness?
That's the plan. Yep.
Okay, well, that's cool. That's something to look forward to for this weekend, and then as we continue into it, the off season, like I said, we'll be streaming MetCon. And we'll also be streaming the Monster games as well. So,
yeah, this is the 3rd stop on the European tour, but it's a 4 straight competition weekends for me. MetCon Rush will be next week, and we'll have. I just got actually the final updated roster from Tim yesterday, and we have all the workouts for that as well. I don't know if they have announced them yet, but we'll have a show previewing MetCon Rush next week, and then the week after that, Magic City Games is happening. We're not involved with it. Maybe we'll take a look at it. And then we have Monster Games closing out July.
A lot of fun stuff on tap as we head into just the busy part of the season. I mean, obviously the elite athletes are preparing for the games. Some are preparing for, WFP at the end of August, but that means there's still tons of athletes that are the next up and comers that are preparing. Their season still continues.
Let's take a look at some of these questions from the comments.
Uh-huh.
What's up, Jake? Do you think Rogue will invite Alex Kazan? I think she was 4th place there last year. I'm pretty sure she won WFP, won the semifinal. She competed at. I mean, look, I don't know really what's the state of Alex's leg, but she's got games coming up. She's got WFP coming up. She's got Tier Cup coming up. I think, obviously, if you're Rogue and she's healthy, you want her there. She's got 5 at least, and then the Copenhagen final. She's got at least 5 serious competitions, having had a leg injury. I mean, I think prioritize the health, but if she's healthy enough to compete, she's one of the best in the world. And of course, you would want to have her, anyone would want to have her at their competition.
Definitely.
Do we know the status of Emma McQuaid for Mesa? I have not spoken to Emma McQuaid. I haven't seen much from her on Instagram either. You know, she signed a contract with WFP, so there's obligations on the athlete side for that as well. I think that, you know, when she committed to doing that, she had the intent of competing, and I'm assuming, but I would assume that she's been making all the efforts possible to get there and compete. So unless I see something otherwise, that's what I'm going to assume for Emma McQuaid. 13 live viewers, L Train. That's okay. We do these shows for the people who want to watch them, and we understand that there's ways to do shows like Spin does it that are consistent every week, same time, a little bit more structured, all that stuff that are more accessible for people. Our schedules are a little bit more crazy than those guys that live at home and stay there most of the time and have consistent jobs and lives. So we do the best that we can. We appreciate the viewers that we have, but at the end of the day,
not just viewers, because I mean, we average about 500 downloads through podcasts, so people are downloading these and listening to these as well. So again, we're not, we do these live shows because we like doing it live, and two, we like the live interaction. But it's more just having it out there. People can listen to these whenever or watch these whenever. So.
Well, I think Peter actually said it well on one of his Ask Me Anythings on Instagram a couple of weeks ago. He's like, there's plenty of content out there. Someone was asking him about the group of guys that he associates with and why he associates with them. And he's like, hey, if you don't like it, don't listen to it. You can listen to Scott. You can listen to Brian. You can listen to any of these guys out there. So, and we have our favorites right here.
Speaking of consistency and shows, I'm going to use this as a plug. For 1 second. Oh, sorry, gotta find it. It's been a while since I've done this. It's like 2 weeks. But tomorrow will be episode 4. They made it to 4 episodes, Brian. Can you amaze it? Can you believe that?
Brian, did you watch your girls' show? I'm assuming you're talking about this. I've watched the first 2. I have not watched one with Dex yet. But yes, they made it to 4 episodes. I can believe it, of course. I believe in the girls. Yeah. They are super committed, passionate, excited about this, and I think that they're doing an amazing job.
Yeah. So tomorrow, 6 o'clock Eastern.
They're doing all the things that we don't do.
Consistent exactly.
Time, consistent place, consistent advertising and branding. Yeah, they're just better than us.
Yeah. Well, it's so funny. It's like when we talk to them about it, like we told them this is what we want because all the stuff that we want to do, but that's how serious. I mean, it was kind of almost a test to see how serious they wanted this to do the stuff that we weren't able to do, and they're doing it, and they're seeing success. And I think it's just going to keep on growing. We want that to grow, and I'm really excited. This one in the box office, they're going to talk about the training caps and which ones they think are doing well, which ones they are kind of on the down, going down. And I like hearing both their opinions because they do have a lot of differing opinions on things. And then,
do you think they're going to put a plus in the HWPO category for Jake and Josh doing a ridiculous Mount Rainier hike this week?
I don't know, but that's someone that's seen Mount Rainier, and it's. I mean, they're going at the perfect time. This is the season to do it. The snow cap isn't that much. You don't have to worry about any avalanches or anything like that. And they'll be fine. Those guys with their level of fitness, and
I think they finished it actually.
Oh, really? Already? Cool.
I think they finished it today. I think it was only a few days, but it was. I mean, I want to talk to Jake about it. It looked daunting and impressive.
Yeah. I mean, if you know anything about Mount Rainier, I mean, it dominates the Washington skyline, and it's just great. I mean, there's a trail there I always go to, and I always they have Rainier beer, Mount Rainier beer, and I always pack 1 or 2 of those on me, and it's about a 2-mile hike to this lookout fire station, and I'll just sit up there and have a couple beers and just look at the views, and it's just a very beautiful view. But now
and then roll down the hill.
Oh, it's a lot easier going down. But yeah, so Yeah, the girls tomorrow in the box office, episode 4. I think we're trying to find some. They're trying to find. They have something lined up for next week on episode 5. Another interview, I think. So that'll be exciting. So besides that, oh, I forgot a plug for our unofficial sponsor since I'm back. Remember this, Brian?
Bear paws.
Yes. Yes.
Those things are nice. I do use that a lot when I'm home, actually.
Yeah. I've been missing this the last year. So when I was setting up my office again, I came across it's like, yep, it's going right back underneath my desk, so I can put my feet on and just massage my feet while I'm going through this. So, shout out to the guys at Bear Paw. So it's the www.thebearpost.com, patent pending. So pretty
One
cool
man
stuff.
show, one man
One-
operation that guy runs. Makes
Yeah,
the molds himself, ships them out.
Yeah, and it's really cool, very convenient. So they actually make the bare post. You can actually put it on your rig and just kind of like dig in there, hit those pressure points in the shoulders and stuff like that. But
It's super effective. Griffin Raleigh has one. He uses it.
oh yeah, yeah. So I completely forgot about this. I was like, oh my god, and so I've been sitting at my desk all day today, preparing for this and doing other stuff and just massaging my feet. But well, Brian, nice.
Stefan should get one of those. He loves doing podcasts barefoot.
Oh yeah, maybe we should. We should.
He does a lot of podcasts too. One
Yeah,
other question here from V. Any men's pro card holders you don't think compete at Mesa? Any inside info or speculation? No, I mean, you got two different groups of guys. You got the ones that are going to the games and the ones that aren't. I think the ones that aren't are very focused on getting prepared for this. You see people like Pat Vellner, Yellow Hosta, posting specifically about that. And for the guys that are going to the games, I think that right now their focus is on the games because it's a one-off opportunity. There's a really big premium on performance there. You have to do very well to hit the big money. And then they'll reassess after that. So I would say, assuming that everyone makes it through the games healthy, I think you'll see another full field of men at the pro division in Mesa.
Yeah. Besides that, no more insider information. Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, do you think
how much better prepared do you think Vellner will be? Significantly. I don't think that. I mean, look, it's the worst live competition he's had in his entire career that I can remember. And I don't think he wants to finish out his career in that way. I think he's much more interested in finishing out the way Brent did, which is still going out being competitive. So I think he's still got the potential to do that, and I expect we'll see a very different version of Pat in Mesa than we saw in Indianapolis.
Yeah.
And if we don't, he's going to be in trouble because there's a lot of competitive guys this year.
Yeah, but I also don't see this being his last year too. I mean, he hasn't put it out there, but what you kind of just said there is like, going out that way. I don't think he's going out anyway, at least this year. I think that'll help if he does.
No, I wasn't implying that. Just saying, like, I think he wants to complete his career competitive instead of just kind of tailing off.
Yeah, sure. Just kind of ending on that just the what.
But you never know. I mean, athletes like that last as long, like, he's lasted at the top as long as anyone in the sport has. Mm-hmm. That's a testament, obviously, to fitness, but also to the love for fitness. And we've seen athletes, Michael Jordan, like, he came back again to compete. He didn't have to. He came back because he wanted to, because he loved playing. And he wasn't as good because he was 40, but he was still good and he could still play. And maybe Pat's one of those guys that just competes until he can't.
Yeah. Yeah. Trying to think if there's like Ben Smith.
Yeah. I mean, Ben Smith, I don't know if competing is a priority of his right now, but fitness and health and living out the lifestyle and methodology that, are core parts of who he is. And he still has that base and volume to show up and take top 10 at the Syndicate Crown. So,
yeah. So you're traveling this weekend. I saw the funniest thing. It's like, somewhere in America, there's some Americans, this is their last weekend with 10 fingers, with 4th of July weekend coming.
Jesus.
Yeah. So
that's hey, maybe Canada also. Canada Day was yesterday, and I looked up all the famous things that happen on Canadian National Day, and fireworks is at the top of the list, along with, I think, throwing bagged milk at your friends' houses and injecting your veins with maple syrup.
Yeah. But yeah. So yeah, you'll be in Italy. You'll be in Naples. I leave tomorrow. I head to Chicago for my soldiers. They're going to do the color guard for the Chicago Cubs Cardinals game on 4th of July. So I'll be there for that. It'll be really cool.
Are they gonna host you with as much pomp and circumstance as Detroit Tigers hosted Rich Froning?
Probably not. Probably not. Yeah. Well, that was awesome. I know for Rich and the family, that was great. That was definitely.
You know what? When I was there, I talked to him because I was like, "Dude, do you even own any Mayhem stuff anymore? All you wear is Detroit Tigers." He's like, "Yeah, man, I'm loving it." And I asked him because he said he was going to a game at some point. I was like, "Do you think you could ever get a chance to throw out the first pitch?" And he was like, "Dude, that would be a dream come true. It's like one of the things I would like to do most." And who knows how that ended up happening, but sometimes you speak these things into the universe and they manifest themselves. And that was really cool to see that happen for him, especially have him tell me, face to face in a private conversation that it was something he was hoping to be able to do.
Yeah. And Rich, as soon as he got that call, he probably had everyone sitting there. We're gonna start throwing. We're gonna start throwing. Just to get it perfect. That's what it's like. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it'll be really cool. I'm looking forward to this weekend. I
got one other thing I'd like you to do me a favor.
Okay.
I'm going to send you in the private chat. Can you pull up this link here?
Sure.
This if you guys are diehards and follow us along, or maybe even remember back to when Sevan and I interviewed one disc golfer ever.
Yeah.
Ezra Aderhold became a friend of mine, and then I was able to caddy for him last year in Norway. And this past weekend, he won his first ever Disc Golf Pro Tour Championship event in Iowa. He had played in 120 competitive matches as a pro before winning this one. It's not this video. This is just a silly shot, but the next one or two over. He did it with his brother Judah on the bag. And, this is a guy, he's one of the reasons look at his arms there. He's got super fit, vegan.
Yeah.
He lived out of a Prius the first year he was on tour. He travels as much as anyone I know. He's got one of the most successful YouTube videos, which people, I think, understand how difficult it is to keep those and build those, especially when you're constantly living out of hotels and suitcases. He maintains his fitness, his businesses. He's just disciplined to the T. He's the epitome of what a journeyman in sport is. And to see him win this competition, it was one of the more emotional things in sport for me that I've seen in a while. So I just wanted to, even though he'll probably never see it, take a chance to congratulate Ezra Aderhold on getting his first win in his 121st pro start in the Disc Golf Pro Tour this past weekend.
That's really cool, man. Congrats to Ezra. Since we're,
scroll to the right on some of these. Look at this guy's. Look at the passion in this. I was almost tempted to send this to Sevan because he knows who he is.
Yeah. Holy shit.
And here's the thing: is like these are all the guys that he competes against. And look at how happy they all are for him. Like you hear people say he's a great guy, whatever. But when your entire team is like beyond, like they're like almost happier for him than they would be if they won. Like it was a serious party. It was just a really cool moment. And I've been watching disc golf now for 4 or 5 years, and for me, it was one of the more special things I've seen.
That's really cool. Congrats.
So for all 5 people watching, Ezra Aderhold.
Yeah. I sent this to you today and kind of in the frame of disc golf, and it's unfortunate that it's kind of a sad stuff. For people that follow UFC, Ben Askren, former Olympian, represented the U.S., two-time NCAA wrestling. I've known Ben since he was a freshman in college when I was at Mizzou and he was there. He got pneumonia about a month and a half ago, really bad, to the point where he now is going to need a full lung transplant.
Double lungs. And
he's so this guy's amazing. I mean, just a good guy. He's still part of the big wrestling community. He he has a wrestling camp up in Wisconsin. I think it's called Funky Style Wrestling. But anyways, he helps a lot of these kids get to college on wrestling scholarships. A lot of them here end up in St. Louis because he's his teammate at Mizzou is the head coach at SIUE, the wrestling team here. So he really taps into his connections there. But Ben is just a really good guy. Every time I see him, just give him a hug. And again, he competed at the highest level at UFC. But he's dealing with a lot right now. But he's also known as, he actually does have a pro win he played he played a tournament up in Wisconsin, but he's like, he does have a pro card for disc golf. It's one of those things he just loves doing. But Discraft, which is the number one provider of discs out there, they're doing a fundraiser for Ben and created these some discs for him to helping the financial strain in terms of getting a full lung transplant.
Well, he'll be able to get the transplant. It's just that insurance won't cover the entire cost of it.
Exactly.
So that's what they're helping to support him with.
Yeah. So I'll put this in the chat there. I'm probably I'm gonna share it on my page. I sent it to Brian this morning because it's like, I don't know much about disc golf, but what I do know is, like I said, I know Ben. I know how much Ben liked it. I've told Brian the story about Ben a couple times, and so kind of ended on that. So I'll again put that in the chat, and Ben. So you're it's nighttime. We're switched now. I get to work out today. So.
Oh my God, dude, I am destroyed. When we went to Estonia, Miko, who just did the competition the previous days, he's like, we're gonna do a sweat session. No, it was a full-on training. It was ridiculous. Then we went and did a class yesterday. We went to the gym today with some friends to try to work out, and I could only bike and stretch. I did 3 sets of 100 calories on the Echo bike, and I couldn't do anything else. I just watched people.
That sounds like me.
I had to do that though because now I'm going to Napoli, Italy, the home of pizza. So I'm going to have pizza every day this weekend.
Oh, yeah, well, that makes sense. I'm heading. I went to my parents yesterday, and of course I show up, and my mom immediately goes, "Okay, I need you and your brother to start moving." Literally, these rocks that have been in the backyard by the pool. They've been there for like 30 years, and now they want to move those rocks. So me and my brother had to break out the shovel, and they're moving the rocks to the back. We have a drainage creek in the back, and they were like, "We'll just line the bottom of the." I'm like, for 30 years, it doesn't need rocks there. Now you want to throw rocks there. It's just like, I don't know. And then every time I go there, they're just trying to give me all their stuff. Like, they're like, "Oh, you want a grill?" I'm like, no, I don't need a grill. And here, why don't you take this patio furniture? It's like, God bless them. I love them. But it's just like, yeah. So yesterday I did get a nice little workout in. And I told you, I did a workout at the gym while I was in Texas. Well, not workout. They had a competition. I, was able to do some back squats. So I still got some strength in a back squat, but I warmed up to it. It was funny watching it, but some guy with a 500, 535 back squat.
A young kid too.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I told the guys holding, I'm like, you need age groups, because I was the oldest guy in our weight class. And, but, I was happy with that. 465 is what I ended up, 475 is what I ended up with. So, no, 375, sorry, not 475. So,
a small difference.
Yeah, so a little small, slightly small. But after that guy did 525 or 530, whatever he did, there's a huge drop off. There's one guy at 400, and there was a kid beat me about. I think he did 385. So, and my legs weren't that destroyed, so it was good. Or my back. But, all right, everyone. This, hey, 4th of July weekend for us Americans. So be safe out there. Try to keep all your fingers, stick to the little snake things, or sprinklers or sparklers. But everyone be safe this weekend. Brian, you be safe in your travel. But most importantly, instead of being safe, be friendly, our friends.